Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Gear Movie Show. My name's Deshaun and today I'm here to give you my full review of The Boys Season 2. Now, The Boys it's a great show. I'm not gonna sit there and bullshit you about this. I'm not gonna wax on and you go, oh well, you can look at it. No. The Boys is a good show. The first season was very shocking and very great. By the way, I picked up the comic book. Don't do that. Don't pick up the book. Don't do it. I think I bought the first 2 issues for like $10-15 and I regretted it. Not because it was terrible, but because it's disturbing. It's way worse than the show. You think the show's bad, you ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing. That was visually, yeah, let's not talk about that. But the show itself is great. Now, I've already I'm not gonna, review, because usually when I do these, I sometimes review the first season. I already did that in my my review of the first 3 episodes that I posted up when the first 3 episodes came out, like 4 weeks ago, something like that, 5 weeks ago maybe. Well, it's 8 episodes, and I think they uploaded 3 episodes. It's 8 episodes, so that had to be like 5 weeks ago. Yeah, it had to be like 5 weeks ago when I posted it up. So I already reviewed Season 1. If you're watching this, you've seen Season 1, you know what happened, and you saw my little tidbit, so you know what happened up at least till Episode 3. So Season 2 was just, I don't know if I like it better than Season 1. I think Season 1 was better than Season 2, just because Season 1 was like so shocking, so on the edge. It was so like this, like you just didn't expect, you didn't know what to expect because you didn't expect the show to be as great as it was. You didn't expect the themes to be as unique and as prevalent and as real as they are. So you just didn't know how to act on it. You were just, and then when it ended, you were just like, what the fuck are we supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, it was just such a, what did WTF? Like, what do we do now? Ending. It was just like a, whoa, like Season 1 was just so fucking aces. This is a great second season. I don't think it's as good as Season 1, but it's damn almost there. It's really good though. It's really good. There's a couple things that, kind of were like, there's a couple things that don't make any logical sense, and there's a couple things where you just like certain characters just kind of get put on the back burner, so that kind of hems it up a bit. But other than that, man, it's fun. It's a fun time. And to be fair, certain characters get more shine. Black Noir gets a lot more shine in this. Like, you really didn't see Black Noir do anything in the first season. You kind of had hunts that he might be ridiculous, but then you see Black Noir is scary as F. I mean, he is scary. Like, he's like super fast, super strong. He can just tank anything. Like, he has one weakness. It's like fucking like coconut. He's extremely allergic to coconut. That's it. Other than that, he can't really be killed. I'm not even sure if goddamn if Homelander can kill him. We don't know. But Black Noir, that's the only goddamn weakness he has, is he's allergic to coconut. That is it. So that's pretty funny. But other than that, like, all the characters progressed. You get to learn a lot more backstory on Frenchie. You get to learn more backstory on the relationship that Billy has with MM and Frenchie, to be like how they even met in the first place, and how they got together to begin with. You got to learn a little bit more about Rebecca, Butcher's wife, and their relationship. You got to learn more about, you just got to learn more about a lot of things, about a lot of characters. They introduced this new character named Stormfront, who is very much, I think someone said this, but they were correct. She's like a young Karen. Well, until you realize that she's actually over 100 years old, but that happens later on, and you think she's a young Karen. Because, like, literally, as it turns out, like, she's so weird, because she's just like, and you know the people I'm talking about. Like, she's just so ready to start rage and riots, and she just says these words and just tries to get people angry and tries to poke buttons, and she's just that kind of a woman. Not to mention, as it turns out, she's really racist and really and she's kind of a white supremacist, kinda, because her whole thing is like, but it's all freaking weird. Like I said, it kind of builds up over time, and Homelander is back, played beautifully by I know this guy's name. I drew his last name's Starr. Like, it's like Martin Starr or something like that. But he's great in this as Homelander. Like, honestly, he is so scary. Every time he's in a room, you don't know what he's gonna do. And but I will say they did expose Homelander in this show. I mean this in a positive way, because while you're scared of him, what you discover throughout the course of this series is Homelander, while he is practically the most scary and indestructible guy, and why I know he's the most scary and indestructible guy is because even the characters who have shown themselves to be scary and powerful aren't dumb enough to fuck with him. Even Stormfront, in the beginning, they had a little tit for tat. She's not dumb enough to fuck with him. She's not that dumb, which like I said, kind of makes me go, oh, she knows. She knows if he could just break her in half like a pretzel. And apparently he could just do that. He's so freaking powerful. And they kind of set up this weird, kind of a biblical kind of thing with Homelander's son, with Rebecca. And as it turns out, the son has powers similar to him. And he's really powerful, even at a young age. I mean, at a certain point, he was outright able to shove Homelander back. To just shove the shit out of him. He felt it. As a boy, he did that. And when near the tail end of the story, when goddamn Stormfront was choking out his mom, he melted her ass. I mean, legs, she was still together and technically still alive, but no legs, no arms, her whole body's all melted. And it's damn, he did that and he didn't even know how he did it. So if he could do that to a soup, they kind of, subtly put the thread out there that, you know what? This whole thing is about this boy growing up to be able to kill Homelander. And that's kind of what it feels like. It's no, this is about this boy growing up and being able to kill Homelander. And when he can do, that's what it feels like. But Homelander was exposed in the sense that he actually cares about what people think about him a lot more than he thought. And like I said, as it turns out, I mean, that ends up being his undoing, is he ends up getting blackmailed about being exposed to the world. And at first he's like, oh, I'll just kill everybody. And then, Maeve is just like, yeah, sure, you'll kill everybody. Yeah, if everyone's dead, basically, who's going to cheer for you? And then you'll never be loved. And boom. Which is why, over the course of this series, it really did become apparent that as powerful as Homelander is, as scary as Homelander is, as predictable as he is, he's almost not the scariest person in the room because he can be controlled. Homelander can be controlled. He can be controlled, he can be manipulated, he can be coaxed. You can get something over it because as powerful as he is on the outside, he's not that strong of a dude inside. He's a boy. He's a fucking 10-year-old stuck in the body of a god. That's basically what he is. And he can be manipulated. He can be manipulated. I mean, that's what fucking Stormfront was doing. But anywho, like I said, you learn a lot more about Billy. You got to actually meet his parents. You got to meet Billy's parents. You got to meet his dog from the comic books that they didn't let him have in the show for some reason, because he has this big ass dog, this big ass not big ass, but he has this big bulldog that I can't remember what he calls it. Killer? No, it's something. I can't remember what he calls the dog. But it's a really big, but it's a nice bulldog, and it's straight from the comics. But you don't actually get you only get to see it for an episode, which is great callback to the books. And you get to learn out why Billy, and you find out why Billy likes Huey. You find out that Billy had a brother who was a lot similar to Huey, and Billy wasn't there for him. So it kind of goes so he feels like saving Huey is almost the same equivalent of, I couldn't save my brother, I can save Huey. And Billy, and Huey's going through some stuff too, he's because he's trying to hang in there, but he's not really built for this stuff, but he's trying to hang in there. Meanwhile, Starlight is dealing with the fact that it turns out, which eventually gets exposed in the show, that yes, Vought has been freaking creating superheroes. And technically, they created the compound that makes superheroes, which technically means they are also responsible for the supervillains. But, and everyone took that the own kind of way they wanted to take it. And like I said, and she's on, goddamn Starlight goes on the run because she exposed them. There's this tit for tat in the beginning where A-Train wakes up, because if you remember season 1, A-Train had a heart attack, almost died, and she kind of jolted him and kept him alive. But he still figured out that she was with them. So then they're having this weird tit for tat at the beginning where you're scared of A-Train, where it's kind of scary. You don't know if A-Train's going to tell on her. You don't know what's going to happen. You kind of feel like he's an ungrateful bastard because they did save his life. you really don't know what's gonna happen here. But eventually, it becomes apparent that she's just like, well, guess what? I'll just tell him you were with me and you've been hiding this the whole time, and and that happens. But A-Train's going through his whole old thing, but he's really kind of sidelined this season. A-Train, there's not a lot of action for him. He doesn't really do much except kind of mope about his life and mope about how the way his life's going, because eventually he gets kicked out of the 7 entirely. And the Deep is in this, and he is just a sad sack of potatoes, man. Deep is just a sad man. Might have been a nice little message in there for body shaming or feeling ashamed of your body, but it was just covered up all this ridiculousness that it was hard to see it. But yeah, there's a lot in this. And you figure out why Frenchie is so set on saving. She doesn't really have a name. In the books, they call her the Alpha, or they call her. I think they call her, like the Asian girl. I don't know if she has a name. I think I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I think it's like Yumiko or something like that. Anyways, he's trying, and why he's so hell bent on saving her is because he is responsible for the death of his commander's children because he couldn't make up his mind where he wanted to be. And you learn all this stuff about Frenchie, and it's really sad, and you really understand Frenchie completely, and you understand why he is the way he is, why he, how he feels the way he feels, and it's very touching. You find out more about MM. It turns out, Mother's Milk, MM, his father was fighting Soups from a young age as well. I mean, his father was fighting Soups and perhaps even killed by a Soup because he was fighting the good fight. So you learn so much more about them. This whole season is about the backstory of all these characters and learning more about them and how these characters evolved. By the end of it, Billy is less bloodthirsty and willing to actually, care about the kid. By the end of it, Huey's willing to try to stand on his... By the end of this season, Huey's willing to try to stand on his own. Frenchie and the girl... Frenchie and... like I said, I forgot her name. And the Asian girl... and the... What was it? Chinese or Asian? They go off, and they finally connected on a level, and they're finally together. And as it turns out, and in the end, Homelander pretty much just kind of confines to all of Maeve's demands. Not only did he not expose what was actually going on, not only has he promised to leave Maeve, Starlight, and everyone else involved alone and allow his son to be taken off, he also fucking let them just take off. He also let Stormfront take the blame for all the shenanigans and craziness that was going on, which I don't feel sad about, but does mean she is still alive and healing somewhere. That is what that means. She is somewhere still alive. We don't know where, we don't know how, but she is somewhere still alive. Just put that out there. And like I said, it put a halt on the whole distribution of Compound V. And like I said, it's some crazy stuff being set up for season 3. But in the end, the last twist, and the last thing I'm going to talk about is, throughout the course of the show, people's heads start exploding. First, the detective you meet in season 1, her head explodes very early in the show, like in the second episode. Her head blows up, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? But you never really find out. Then later on, there's this whole court case that's supposed to take down Vault. They brought in the scientist who helped perfect the formula, the V, that ended up making Homelander. They brought him in, and his head blew up. Then a couple judges' heads blew up. Then everyone in the crowd's head just started exploding. We don't know what the fuck is going on. People's heads are just exploding. And it's kind of a dangled thread that we never quite figure out. We're like, who the fuck is doing this? And the way in, and they perfectly did it because they made you think, because when they introduced this church called the Church of the Collective. And clearly this church is fucking, clearly schemers and connivers, and it's one of those things where this church is clearly a front for more shadier things going on. But you think that they're the ones blowing these people's heads up, because you're like, well, why would you introduce this random corrupt church that are involved in Soups that wouldn't be doing something nefarious? And when you think that, the main guy who runs the church is on the phone with this one DA agent, with this one lady who you think is on the good guy side, because she's like with Billy and them throughout the course of the show, like, oh yeah, I want to fight with you. I agree with you guys. We should fight the good fight against Soups. Except she's doing it in the public eye, and she's on TV all the time, which was a very subtle thing. And it turns out she has an ability, and she's been the one blowing people's heads up to get power. Because now, after the way everything shook out, she is in a much more powerful position, because Distrust in Soups are up. Distrust in VOD is up. Distrust in everything is up. And now she's in a powerful position. And not only that, but in the end, one of the last shots you see is Huey going to talk to her to get a job working for her. So things are getting juicy. Now, it's not as awesome as an ending as the whole Rebecca's alive and she has a son thing. That was like, the fuck? Because that was like, what now? But, you know, sadly, Rebecca died in the end, but she had to die because if she was alive, then not only would Billy have just run off with her, but it would have been too easy, wouldn't it? It would have just been too easy. It would have been way too easy. There's got to be some weird shit going on. Though I thought Billy was going to raise the kid himself. Turns out he's going to let his commander officer raise him, which makes sense considering she, you know, it's almost like she lost a grandkid and he gave her a grandson back. So that's kind of great. So, you know, I can't wait to see what happens. I really can't wait to see what happens in season 4. I give The Boys season 2, I give it an 8.5, man. I give it an 8.5. It was a fun time. It was a fun time. You really want to keep watching it. The show's unpredictable. It's on its toes. Fucking goddamn Homelander is so fucking engaging. You're terrified and engaged all at the same time. And, like, there's stuff in it that you're not supposed to laugh at. Like, at what point someone was getting choked out by a giant dick? Just to let you know that. At one point, someone was getting choked out by a giant dick. You don't know it's a dick, but when you realize it is, you're like, oh, but he's getting choked out. He's like, oh, shit. Anywho, thank you guys for joining Comic Game Movie Show. What did you think of The Boys Season 2? I rather enjoyed it. Thank you guys. Remember, like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.